The sun was just beginning to spill over the Appalachian peaks that cradled the small homestead of Samuel Miller, a 70-year-old man who had dedicated his entire life to the soil. His face, a roadmap of deep wrinkles and quiet smiles, told a story of wisdom and sacrifice earned through decades of hard work. That morning, like countless others, he stepped out early with Buddy, his faithful mutt with bright, knowing eyes who never left his side. A low-lying mist still clung to the fields when Samuel noticed that Buddy, usually calm, began to bark and act restlessly, nudging his head toward a small grove of trees at the edge of his property. "What is it, boy?" Samuel asked, in his gentle, raspy voice, following the dog's lead. The air grew colder as they entered the shade of the trees. Buddy darted ahead and stopped near a thicket of bushes. It was then that a faint cry broke the morning silence. Samuel's heart hammered against his ribs as he approached, carefully parting the branches. To his utter astonishment, he saw 3 infants, swaddled in a tattered blanket and nestled in a makeshift bed of dry leaves. "Good heavens!" he whispered, kneeling to make sure they were breathing. There were 2 girls and 1 boy. The babies looked gaunt, their cheeks flushed red from the cold, their tiny bodies trembling. Paralyzed by the discovery, Samuel scanned the area, searching for anyone, for any sign of who could have left them there. "What kind of person could do this?" he murmured, running a trembling hand over his face. Buddy looked up at him, a soft whine in his throat, as if urging him to act. Samuel took a deep breath, gathered the 3 infants into his arms, and carefully wrapped them in his old wool coat. His mind raced with questions as he walked back toward a small farmhouse. As he neared the porch, Martha, his wife, met him at the door. Her gray hair was tied back in a simple bun, her hands dusted with flour. "Samuel, what's wrong? You look pale as a ghost," she asked with concern, her eyes falling to the bundle in her arms. "Martha, you won't believe what I found," he said, moving quickly inside and placing the infants on the sturdy wooden kitchen table. Martha dropped the bowl she was holding, her hands flying to her mouth as she saw the babies. "Lord, have mercy! Where did these children come from?" she exclaimed, moving closer to look at them. "They were abandoned in the grove. Buddy found them," Samuel answered, still in shock. Martha's instincts took over. She found clean blankets and warmed the milk they had for their morning coffee, trying to feed the infants with a small spoon. Samuel stoked the fire in the hearth, chasing the chill from the room. "Martha, what are we going to do?" Samuel asked, slumping into a chair and clasping his hands. This is too much for us." "First, we'll take care of them. We can't just leave them. Then we'll figure it out," she replied, her voice filled with a resolve that defined her strong character. The day passed in a haze of tension and quiet worry. As night fell, their home, usually filled with a deep, comfortable silence, was now alive with the soft cries of infants. The next morning, they knew they couldn't handle this alone. After a sleepless night, they decided to visit Reverend John at the local church. They bundled the babies warmly and placed them in an old wooden cart they used for hauling firewood. When they arrived at the simple stone church, Reverend John, a middle-aged man with kind eyes and graying temples, came out to greet them. "Samuel, Martha, what brings you here so early?" he asked with a warm smile that vanished the moment he saw the bundles in the cart. "Father, we need your help," Samuel said, his voice heavy. "We found them. 3 of them." Inside the quiet church office, they recounted the morning's discovery. The pastor listened intently, his expression a mixture of shock and compassion. 3 babies? Abandoned? He confirmed, as if unable to believe it. Martha's eyes filled with tears. They're so tiny, so helpless. We couldn't just leave them there, Father. We're not animals. You did the right thing, Martha, Reverend John said softly. But I can see this is a heavy burden. It is, Samuel admitted, his shoulders slumping. We're old. We barely have enough for ourselves. But we can't abandon them. They'll have no one. The pastor assured them they had done a great act of kindness and promised to help. He would discreetly ask around town to see if anyone knew of a family in crisis or a young woman who had recently given birth. With heavy hearts but a glimmer of hope, Samuel and Martha returned home. Over the next few days, word of the miller's babies spread through the small town. Some neighbors brought by what little they could spare: a jug of milk, some old baby clothes, a bag of potatoes. Others whispered, questioning the old couple's ability to care for 3 infants. Samuel and Martha paid them no mind. They were consumed by their new routine. Samuel built a sturdy, if rustic, cradle from old planks of wood. Martha, whose own children were long grown and gone, rediscovered the gentle rhythms of motherhood. Her hands, worn from farm work, became surprisingly deft at soothing a crying baby or changing a makeshift diaper. A few weeks later, Reverend John arrived at their farm. "I have some news," he said, his face somber. "I believe I know who the children's mother was." He told them about a young woman named Evelyn, who lived in a secluded cabin deep in the woods. She had been cast out by her family for getting pregnant out of wedlock and had kept to herself, too proud and afraid to ask for help. "What happened to her?" Samuel asked, his voice barely a whisper. "She passed away shortly after giving birth, from what I've gathered. Complications and exhaustion," the pastor explained. "Before she died, she gave a letter to an old woman who lived nearby. I think you should read it." He handed Martha a worn, yellowed envelope. With trembling hands, she opened it and read the letter aloud. "To whoever finds my children, if you are reading this, it means I am gone. I loved my babies more than life itself, but I didn't have the strength to give them the life they deserve. Please, take care of them. Their names are Sophia, Matthew, and Emily. They are my little miracles, and they deserve love and happiness. I only ask one thing. Let them know they were loved, even if I couldn't be there." Martha's voice broke, and tears streamed down her cheeks. Samuel stared at the floor, his jaw tight. This letter changed everything. These weren't just abandoned children. They were a final, desperate wish from a mother who loved them. "This is our path now, Martha," Samuel said with unwavering certainty. "We promised we wouldn't let these children suffer. If Evelyn entrusted them to the world, then we will be their world." Martha wiped her tears and nodded. "You're right, Samuel. We may not have much, but we have love, and that will be enough." Years flew by. The small farmhouse, once quiet and orderly, was now a chaotic symphony of laughter, running footsteps, and joy. Sophia, Matthew, and Emily grew up strong and happy, knowing nothing but the unconditional love of the 2 people who had saved them. Samuel taught Matthew how to work the land, his old hands guiding the boys. Martha taught the girls how to cook, mend clothes, and tend to the garden, filling their minds with stories and songs. They were poor in possessions, but rich in everything that mattered. One day, when the children were teenagers, a car pulled up to the farm. A well-dressed couple stepped out, introducing themselves as Evelyn's distant relatives who had only recently learned of the children's existence. They offered to take them, to give them a life of comfort and opportunity in the city. Samuel and Martha's hearts filled with a familiar fear. They gathered Sophia, Matthew, and Emily and explained the situation. They told them they were free to choose. Sophia, the oldest and quietest, spoke first. "Our home is here," she said, looking at Samuel and Martha with tears in her eyes. Matthew and Emily quickly agreed, clinging to the elderly couple who had been their entire world. The relatives saw the unbreakable bond, the deep, resilient love that filled the humble home. They understood that the children already had everything they needed. Before they left, they promised to help financially, ensuring the children would never want for anything. Many more years passed. The children grew into remarkable young adults. Sophia became the town's beloved school teacher. Matthew, strong and kind-hearted, took over the farm, his love for the land as deep as Samuel's. Emily, with her adventurous spirit, went to college, but returned every summer, her presence a whirlwind of light and energy. One warm evening, the entire family gathered on the porch. Samuel and Martha, now frail with age, sat in their rocking chairs, surrounded by the children they had raised. Their hair was white as snow, their hands wrinkled, but their eyes shone with a profound peace. "We were a gift to you," Samuel said, his voice soft with emotion. "We didn't have much to give you, but we gave you our hearts."
"You gave us everything, Dad," Matthew replied, placing a hand on the old man's shoulder. As the sun set, casting a golden glow over the fields, Martha looked at the three beautiful souls before her. They were not born of her body, but they were born of her heart. The discovery in the woods all those years ago had not been a burden. It had been a miracle that filled their quiet lives with more love and purpose than they had ever imagined possible. Their house was no longer just a house. It was a home, built on a foundation of compassion and blessed by three unexpected miracles. Thank you for listening to the story until the end. Don't forget to leave your opinion about this story. Subscribe to the Unbelievable But True channel and share this video with your friends and loved ones. This motivates us to continue working on new stories. Don't miss the next amazing story that is about to appear on your screen. We are very grateful to you for being with us. In the description below this video, you can open a catalog of all the stories. See you soon.